There's a moment many entrepreneurs recognize, even if they don't talk about it clearly. You know what needs to happen next. The strategy is sound. The opportunity is real. You've already done harder things than this. And yet, when it's time to act, to publish the thing, to raise the price, to step into more visibility, something tightens. Not dramatically, not consciously, but just enough to slow you down. That experience has a name that most people recognize: resistance. And here's where most advice quietly breaks down. Some advice treats resistance as weakness, something to override, something to push through. Other advice treats resistance as wisdom, something to listen to, something to honor. What's interesting is that both approaches tend to fail, not because resistance is confusing, but because it's being misread. So the real question isn't whether to push or stop. It's whether you understand what your system is actually responding to. From a neuroscience perspective, resistance isn't random. Modern models of the brain, often described as predictive processing, suggest that the nervous system is constantly predicting what will be safe, familiar, and manageable, and regulating the body around those expectations. In other words, the brain isn't primarily optimized for success. It's optimized to minimize uncertainty and surprise. So when resistance shows up, it isn't a character flaw, it's information. The problem isn't resistance itself. The problem is that most people were never taught how to interpret what their system is responding to. Think about the warning lights on a dashboard. A light turning on doesn't mean the car is broken. It also doesn't mean you should ignore it and keep driving as if nothing's happening. The light is information, a signal from the system about a specific condition. Different lights mean different things. Some tell you to slow down, some tell you to pay attention, some tell you to stop immediately. Treating every warning light the same guarantees the wrong response. That's how resistance works. It's not an obstacle, it's system feedback. This is where pushing through resistance often backfires. When resistance is treated as something to defeat, pressure increases, and pressure tells the nervous system that something unsafe is happening. So instead of creating momentum, pushing harder often amplifies the very signal you're trying to escape. Not because you're weak, but because the system is doing exactly what it's designed to do. At the same time, treating all resistance as wisdom creates a different problem. If every uncomfortable signal is interpreted as "don't do this," growth stalls. Opportunities are avoided. Edges are never explored. Capacity stays frozen at what already feels familiar. That's not alignment. That's misinterpretation. A useful way to think about this is the difference between injury pain and growth soreness. Anyone who's trained seriously understands this intuitively. One kind of pain tells you to stop immediately. The other tells you adaptation is happening. Treating them the same guarantees the wrong outcome. Resistance works the same way. The sensation alone doesn't tell you what to do. Interpretation does. Here's where orientation becomes practical. When resistance shows up, before deciding whether to push or stop, notice three things. First, when does it appear? Is it before you start? As you get visible? Right after commitment? Second, what is the resistance trying to protect? Certainty? Stability? A familiar identity? And third, what are the costs on both sides? What does it cost to ignore the resistance? And what does it cost to obey it? Those questions don't give you an answer, they give you clarity. And clarity is what allows discernment instead of force. Most people don't struggle because they experience resistance. They struggle because they only have two moves: push or avoid. But resistance isn't asking to be conquered or obeyed. It's asking to be read. And when it's read accurately, it stops being an enemy. It becomes orientation. If this reframing helped you see resistance differently, there's a free mind control assessment designed to help you explore how these internal signals are showing up for you personally. It's not about motivation or belief. It's a diagnostic tool that looks at inner alignment, habits, and subconscious patterns that influence how you experience pressure, follow through, and progress. And if you want to engage this work experientially, not by forcing change, but by settling the internal environment first, the Subconscious Academy app includes a free subconscious starter kit with a guided hypnosis experience. It's designed to help you access a calm, grounded internal state, a kind of mental sanctuary, where clarity becomes easier and resistance becomes easier to read. Not hype, not pressure, just orientation. You can explore it if and when it feels relevant. Remember, breakthroughs begin within. Bye for now.